No, I was born in Hampton, Virginia, and then from there I ended up in well, the story is I went to school and then I got my notice, my draft notice, because I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing in school. And so I got a low GPA, and so I got one of this a draft notice to come into the Army, and I said, no, I'm not going to do it. So I went down and joined the Air Force. And so from there, went to the Air Force, and then I came out, they sent me out here to McChord Air Force Base. And so we've been here ever since, and so forth like that. So other than, not really ever since, well, she's been here ever since, my wife has, but I haven't. I've been all around, so everywhere I go, stop at, you know, different bases around the country and around the world, so. Well, I got started when I got to McChord, and once I completed my Air Force, some of my Air Force training, we were able to go to skill level training, and then you're able to go to college and do what you need to do. So a friend of mine talked me into going into the college here on base, the college that they had at McChord, and so went there, and then from there went on to I had to think about this. So I got out in '69, February '69, and then I went to work. And then other than that, you know, so I went. Then I said, well, I got to find something to do other than, you know, I worked for the county, Pierce County, for a while, and so I was working out in Telecom. And so the gentleman said, how would you like a real job? And he said, well, you need to go to EI DuPont out here in DuPont, the explosive company, and said will mention my name and they will hire you on. So I went out there just one day on a whim and got the job. So I was there until the plant started to close, until they were closing. Then I said, well, I'm gonna have to go back to school. So I used my Pierce College deal to go to nursing school at Olympic College in Bremerton. So from there, I came back. I was driving every day over to Bremerton to go to school. So I graduated from there and I went to work at St. Joe's Hospital. And I said, well, this is okay. So then I ended up at the VA out of American Lake. I said to myself, this isn't happening in much. I wanted to go back to college. So the guy he said, you can get your tuition assistance by going back into the Air Force. So I did that. I went back into the Air Force. So in 1980, they sent me to Tucson at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base. And so I started taking more courses on base. And so that's when I went to Northern Arizona University, Flagstaff, and got my degree. And so from there, this friend of mine talked me into going back to school. So I went and got a master's degree from Golden Gate University in health services. And so when I got stationed in Turkey, and I got hooked up with the University of Maryland, and I taught I taught a course or two on the base I was at, and other than that, so then I came back, and then once I retired, I worked at the VA in Seattle. So so I came back to work for the Tacoma School District, and so I substitute taught for 3 years, and then I ended up going into becoming one assistant nurse at Tacoma School District. And so after that, I retired.
Yeah. So
Put in 10 years. I put in 10 years with the school district as a nurse and 3 as a substitute teacher.
That's an amazing journey.
Yeah.
And
And so after all that, I found out that I had more GI Bill to use. So I'm not letting this GI Bill go to waste. So I re-enrolled in Pierce College and took a computer repair course during the whole so I spent another year and a half out here at the Pierce College taking the computer repair course and so forth like that. So yeah, we went to pre-college.
oh, pre-college.
Yeah, pre-college, and well, that's what it's set up as. Went to there as pre-college, and I was going to go there at the Hampton, but no, they decided the parents were paying the freight, so I went up the road to 75 miles away to Richmond to Virginia Union University, which was a denominational school. So they had preachers and they had other things, science and stuff like that going on. It was interesting because you got to meet in the association, you got to meet a lot of older people, kids, not kids, but students, because they would come in and you meeting different varieties of people, and my mom worked on the campus too, and we'd go up there and everything. So we'd go to the dining hall and meet all the kids. In the spring, we would go help the people move their stuff into the rooms and stuff like that. So other than that, it was just these kids come in, they have I say kids, but they come in, they have a dynamic. Just they go in places, they want to do stuff, and things like that. And so that's what it get mixed in with that. Then you go to the football games because our high school and the college used the same stadium to play games. So we'd go out Friday night, we go to the high school games. Saturday, we end up going to the college games. So forth like that. So they got to be real deal. So they were Hampton. They were known as the Pirates. We were known at the high school as the Baby Pirates. So a lot of the friends they went there, But other than that, though, because everybody else I knew, they took off. They went to Howard University in Washington D.C.
Wow.
So forth like that. So. Yes. Yeah. It said because without going, you had nothing to fall back onto. You couldn't go anywhere. So you just saw that degree off in the distance, and that's what your aim was for. And to get that piece of paper and said, hey, I can do this. Here, hire me. I can do this. Without it, you can't do anything. Much of anything you can do. So it worked out, said, hey, I left there and I went up to Virginia Union and just kind of like put it in, so put in the work and the time, so forth. Aunts, uncles, grandfather, they all went to Howard.
Oh, wow.
And so they all tried to, you need to go to Howard. No, that's okay. I'm gonna go to
You don't want to be a bison, huh?
No. No, they said, we can get you in, just going up there because our aunt, she lived there in D.C., so we used to go up in the summer and spend time with her. But no, that's okay. Hampton was, I could walk there and not be bothered, with stuff like they look over your back, like, something like that,
So
The experience was very good, but just like trying to remember back that far is kind of hard. Because they didn't keep any paper. But there was a lot of encouragement, from the keep up doing the work, and spend time. And I know that a lot of places that had my supervisor, they were saying, well, take your time, if you can bring it, say I'm doing this, but you can bring it in and work on this, or take your time and do your homework and do stuff you need to study, and we'll cover it. I said, okay, that's fine, so that worked out pretty good, so I had supervisors and people around who were understanding on the job, so that worked out. A lot of people don't have that, so.
Yeah, so they were more education focused as opposed to mission focused.
Yeah. So they just said, okay, I need to have 15 minutes to do this. Okay, go on back, and we need you. We'll find you, so forth like that. So that worked out pretty good, So then you had this, the top sergeant there. He said, well, I wasn't going to go anymore. Then he kind of like twisted my arm and said, well, you're going to go to school with me. I said, okay, So he just needed somebody to go with him. So I said, okay, so that worked out for me too, so.
to hear.
Yes, I've had that to happen. I needed one course to graduate from Golden Gate University, and they were sending me to Turkey, and I needed that one course, and so they found somebody in Turkey. So I had to pick up the phone and call him. He's on the other side of the world than Turkey there, and so I had to do the paperwork and then send it to him, and then he sent to school the paperwork and the grades, so I was able to graduate to get my master's degree. And I said, okay.
Oh, wonderful.
Oh, I don't know, just that I needed to get it done, and I wanted to do it. And then once I completed one thing, I said, "No, this isn't all there is there." And it said, I got to do the next step. Let's do the next step. And just said, okay. It was probably easier to do it in the service than it was out, because a lot of places, well, you can't get the time off to do this and this and that. Okay, so I did as much as I could there, so it ended up being ahead of the game versus when I got out,
Yes.
so forth like that. So no, you can't take the time off to do this or go to some program you need to go to, so. No, not really. I can focus on any one thing, but the only thing that happened would be it happened later on when I went back to Pierce College, and I went to the computer courses, and how everybody how the teachers made it more accessible and more friendly and more. This is how you need to do it. And then when I got to do one of the study where they put you in a role where they sent you out to a place to work part, and so that worked out really good. So I ended up working for a small place, and the professor came around, the overall person came around and checked on us, see what was going on, and said, and so they would tell him, yeah, he's doing good or he's doing bad, but he was mostly doing good, and so forth like that. So they gave it that and some encouragement. They said, okay, you're going to be, you'll be all right. Then when they took the final course to work out here at JBLM out at there, not one at Fort Lewis, they had the final exam. And they said, well, just go on in and take a deep breath, and you'll survive. You know what you know what you need to do. So when the test, all the manual stuff came, I said just like, okay, I remember this, did it together, got it, passed the test. Then, because I started the one out here, I started at Pierce Puyallup taking some of the computer courses,
Okay.
and so they ended up having a professor, and this.
Yeah, it would be because we.
He was talking about his phrase was "made by man, guaranteed to fail." That's, I remember that. That was it, And I said, "Oh, geez," So yeah, he was. Then I ended up going to. They only had so many courses out there, so I had to go back to the other campus, to the main where they had the dental hygiene. That's right, the main campus, right? The dental.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where they had the regular courses. Well, anything, I focused on anything that didn't have to do a whole lot with math. So, but then after a while, they worked out, they could do some of the, I wasn't afraid anymore doing, like algebra and trigonometry. And I said, oh, geez. But that was, to stick, if you're going to start something, then you need to finish it. You can't just give up at the middle of the day. It's too hard. And I said, okay, I'm flunking. I just needed to go ask for some help. If I needed, I'd go ask for some help, and so it worked out, So I was able to say, okay, I need the help on this. And it's okay, it's like some of the students to get, if you can't get it, some of them help me out with it a little bit. And then it worked out for me, The words would be to keep on trying, keep on getting, even if you fail, just pick yourself back up, try it again. You can only, you can fail and get up and try and do better, and you learn from the failure and said, okay, I did this wrong. I need to correct this, and
Yes.
and so you see the improvement. So then you take that next step on up. But if you give up, it's too late. You know, it's kind of like it's all, you know, it's kind of hard to start back over again if you get given up all the time. You know, you just can't do it. So you just have to keep motivated, keep trying at it. You know, that's it. You know, so sometimes you just can't let the situation around the home or whatever around the outskirts and stuff, you know, keep you down. You know, I can't do this because of whatever. You know, so there's always a way to find a way. You know, to get to where you need to go.
Yes.
So you may not get there in a Mercedes, but you can get there in a bus.
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
Right.
Skateboard. There
Yeah.
you go.
That's it. You know, that's the key word is not to give up.
Yes.
To give up. Have faith in yourself that you can do it. You know. And so you may not be able to make all A's, but at least if you can get some C's and B's, you've accomplished the same thing, you know. Hey. Well, it was since we were at the Pierce College on base and so forth like that. It was everybody had the same, you know, thing. You know, there's just nobody. If you made a mistake, nobody laughed, you know, and anything like this, you know, and so forth like that. You know, you're dumb or anything like this. You gave the wrong answer. No, you didn't hear that, you know. And it just didn't have any problems, you know, at back. Didn't have any problems at all. I can say none that I know of, you know.
That's great.
That's kind of hard. I mean, not hard, but I just can't think of one thing.
Okay.
How do you do it? You know, I don't know. It's just kind of like there are times when I thought about it. That was too tough, and then I said, "No, you got to do it. You got to do it for the sake that I wanted to show my mother I could do this." You know, and I said, "Yeah." She said, because she was against me leaving school in the first time. You shouldn't do that. You need to stay in there. You need to do this. And I said, "I know, but I got this piece of paper." And they're saying I need to report to this place and get my physical. No, but she didn't quite understand it. She said, "Well, I'm going to do it, just not now." You know, so it was for her. You know, the part of it was for her and me. You know, so. No, I don't even think, you know, I wasn't thinking about that at the time, you know, just thinking about, geez, I got to complete this course,
Yes,
you know,
yes.
or do this, you know, and do this, you know, so I wasn't thinking about it as a trailblazer, you know, so it wouldn't come to mind until she called me and said something about that, you know.
What about now? What about now?
I don't know, it's kind of hard to, I don't know, it's hard to imagine, but I guess it, you know, I was just trying to think back then, you know, but it's kind of hard to visualize back. And I think in some of the classes, I was probably the only one at that time, you know, because there were a lot more. I'd say at that time, there were a lot of them, everybody was wanting, a lot of people I knew, they were out partying all the time, you know, they'd think about going to school, you know, like here it is, to take advantage. Because I could walk from my barracks at McChord over to the education center before they tore all that down, you know. So it just was the easy thing to do, you know, just to say, okay, I'm not going to go out there and, you know, I'm just going to go here and study, you know, and do what I need to do, you know. And it worked out for me, you know, it worked out. So I didn't know that the journey was going to be this long. And there's a lot of hills and dales in the journey, and I just had to see, I couldn't see what was over the top of the next hill, but I knew that I had to get there eventually, you know, and I said, okay, I got there and I looked down, says, "Dang, there's another hill." And I said, "Oh, I need to take this other," you know, I said, "Well, I need to take this other course," you know, and so I said, "Well, okay, I'm going to go do it." And then eventually, you know, they got to the last hill, and then I said I had to go find me another hill. May not been right in front of me, but it was another, you know, like I said, because I enjoyed it. the camaraderie with the people, so it was not until I got up to the Pierce College at the one in Puyallup that I got to mingle with a lot of the younger students, and I didn't realize, so a lot of them were there, younger students. And I said, oh, gee, this is all right, just kind of like, I can do this,
Yeah.
get a speech, so we had to do a speech on a project. And so mine was fuel cells. And so that's what I did my little 3-minute speech, a 2-minute speech, but sometimes I get tongue-tied, and I kind of like, oh man, I didn't want to give it, didn't want to really, but I had to get up there and do it anyway, so I had to give up my speech, and I'm hoping I wouldn't get caught in stuttering, so I had to kind of like take in my breath and give it, that was the hard thing, is public speaking for me, that's it. Sometimes it don't quite make it, but you had to do it. I found out I had to do that when I was substitute teaching. I had to do public, I just couldn't walk in and put the videotape in and said, okay,
That's right.
you guys will watch this angel in the outfield for half hour.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, so forth like that. But yeah, just kind of like, so it kind of prepared me for that when I went to work in the Tacoma School District. Get in front of the class and work with with high school students and then middle school students and so forth like that. So I ran into a lot of them, said, hey man, you got to do better than this, you got to, you can't be the clown, you got to push yourself, so. And I take that back. Yes, yeah, there was a couple of, and every now and then I'd be somewhere in Tacoma and I'd hear the knock on my car. Well, don't you remember me? And I said, yeah, well, I was the one that did. I said, yeah, I know. They said, well, I went on and I got this, and I done that. And they said, and I said, okay. So I would run into them, especially on the east side of Tacoma, and down quite a few, because I worked mainly on the east side of Tacoma at some of the middle schools and so forth like that. And so a lot of them, you would run into them and the parents, or to run into mainly the ex-students, and you'd be out somewhere and say, well, don't you remember me? And I said, yeah, I remember, so I'm doing good now, and I said, okay. And they thanked me, and stuff like this, said, okay.
How did that make you feel?
Good. And I said, damn, because I was in the parking lot at McDonald's on Pacific and 72nd there, and I was early in the morning, I had this rapping on my hood. And the guy was saying, the young kid, well, don't look at me. I said, because after a while, the kids just blend in, the pictures kind of blend in, and I said, okay. He said, well, you told me to do this and do that, and I did it, and things worked out for me, and I said, all right, Then I finally figured out who it was, because I didn't want to appear, I said, okay, so, yeah, I figured it out, because I guess now some of them are in their 20s and 20s now that went to middle school on the east side, so. Yeah, well, I worked at McAvey,
Okay.
and so McAvey was the precursor to that.
Okay.
So they were building it, and so the strange thing about this, my wife taught it first at McAvey,
Okay.
and so it just like when we moved here, moved from Lakewood, we moved over to 62nd, so it's just a jump down to McAvey, and so. Yeah, there was a lot of neighborhood kids that we ran into still, so. Yeah, I hated to see the building go, but it had to go. But anyway, then I worked at Galt for a while. Then they had a lot of neighborhood kids at Galt that I run into. Now that building's closed, but yeah, you see, some of them you run into are really doing good. Some of them. All I can say is I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Dula.
you.